Video we talked about algebraic structure, a group, and we saw that that algebraic structure group consists of a set G and a binary operation, and we now now going to discuss about another algebraic structure which is little more complex than groups, is called vector spaces. It is a quadruplet containing four things. So the first thing is a set of vectors. Vectors, you can see whenever we are talking about a set, you can assume that there are some kind of an elements. So you really don't uh, there is much more flexibility about having the content of it. So whatever be the content, it should follow the properties. If that follows the properties, then it is called vector space. So alone set of vectors, when I say, then this word vector does not mean much, but along with all the constraints and everything, it makes us more sense. Let us see how it goes. So it has two sets. One is set of vectors, another is set of scalars. For us in this particular uh, video series, you will be finding that our set of scalars is set of real numbers. Another things that we have here, we have two binary operations. One is vector addition, another is scalar multiplication. The vector addition accepts two vectors, so two values, two elements from vectors, and produces another vector, while the scalar multiplication accepts two, uh, one scalar value, another vector value, and results into a vector value. But they should follow, these operations and these sets should follow certain properties. What are the properties? The first property is n plus should be an abelian group. So we have already talked about a group and abelian group. So all those properties that are there in the group should be followed by n plus. So n is a set of vectors and f is a set of scalars. So usually in mathematics, set of scalars is also known as field. So we can use these two words, scalars and fields, interchangeably if uh, at all used. Otherwise, we will be preferably using scalars. So n plus must be an abelian group. Then there should be a distributive property. Now you can see here the distributive property is of mixed operations. So you see, like uh, scalar times the addition of two vectors is equals to scalar times addition of first vector and plus scalar times the addition of another vector, which means essentially the scalar multiplication is distributive over vector addition. The another property of the distributive part is says that scalar multiplication is distributive over the additions among scalars. So remember, if you see the above two operations, we do not have this operation. As in, we have not defined any operation that will add two scalars, but here we are using it. So we have little more operators that are used here, but not listed over in the quadruplet. Then we have the associative property. Associative property again says that if you have two scalars and a vector, then multiplying first one of the scalars with the vector, and then you do scalar multiplication again with the resultant vector, is same as that of first you multiply those two scalars among themselves, and then the scalar multiplication can multiply that particular resultant scalar value into the vector. So both of them are same. That's the associative property. Now when we talk about identity element, as in n plus is itself a abelian group, and in the abelian group we talked about identity element with respect to the operation. So if n plus is an abelian group, there must be an existence of identity with respect to plus and the set of vectors n. So which means essentially we have a zero vector or additive identity or a additive identity in set of vectors. While there is another existence, another need of another identity in the set of scalars, such that when there is a scalar multiplication with a vector of that particular element from the scalar, it should result into the same vector. If that is so, then this is called the identity in scalars, and that should also exist. If these 5 constraints are fulfilled, then we say that this quadruplet is a vector space. Right. So let us move and try to see what are the possible operations that are used here. So let us list here. So we have listed a few operations, in fact all possible operations with plus and dot, and we try to understand what are the different operations that we have used here. So one is vector addition, which is commutative. So it accepts two vectors and results into another vector. Then we do not have anything that adds a scalar with a vector or a vector with a scalar. So we don't have something like that, which is not defined. Another one is addition among two scalars. Yes, it is defined, so we are using that. Another one is multiplication of two vectors. Multiplication of two vectors. This one, it is also not defined. We are not going to multiply two vectors. Then there is another thing, is multiplication among scalars. Yes, it is defined. We are using that. And in fact, you have seen it in the associative property. Then comes, okay, sorry. So just, okay, let us coming back to the thing. So multiplication among scalars is defined and we are using it. Then next one is the scalar multiplication that accepts one scalar value, another vector value, and results into a vector, which is commutative also. So both of them are, both the last two lines are defined, but they mean same. Now I can actually tell you something elaboratively, in the sense like when we are working with real world problems, we have to devise new structures, we have to devise new algebraic structures or new things, so which essentially may be a subset of vector spaces or maybe a subset of the already stated algebraic structure, right? So there may be constraints, additional constraints that will actually squeeze that set to a smaller set. There may be some relaxations so that it can make a little bit larger set, and so on and so forth. So generally with the real world, for the real world applications, we need some kind of extra information, extra constraints coming into the picture. Now because of these extra pictures or the extra elements, we define a certain new type of operations or maybe new type of sets as well. For example, we can define the multiplication among two vectors as this one, right? We can define that way. So you are multiplying the elements component wise, or maybe you can define the multiplication of vectors as in dot product or something like that, similar to that. So you can define like that, and it's not a problem. You can always do that, which is the requirement of your problem. Now there are certain questions which I'm not thoroughly answering, but I'll be answering here. So for example, if you want to take the set of vectors to be n tuple real numbers, so r cross r cross r cross up to n times, which contains n real values. Each element of that is an ordered pair of n real values with the scalar as real numbers. So is it a vector space? So if you follow all the properties, if it follows all those properties that we have stated earlier, if it follows all that, then yes, it is a field, it is a vector space. And yes, it is a vector space, I can tell you. Similarly, if you take vectors to be a matrix Rm cross n, and if we define the scalar multiplication in such a way that if you multiply a real value with the matrix, then each component of the matrix will be multiplied by that scalar, then this thing will also result into a vector space. It will follow all those properties that we have stated earlier for being a vector space. Okay, there are certain notations, so you can read that. That's not in the next okay, let me tell you one more thing about vector spaces for this particular video series. In this video series, we are not going to focus about vector spaces as such. Why? Because we are not going to prove something as a vector space. We are going to prove something as a subspace. Subspace has very peculiar qualities in that sense, like it is a subset of a vector space. So you take some subset of set of vectors equipped with all other things same other things. So set of scalars is same, the binary operations, both of the binary operations are same, so exactly same, only the set of vectors is little smaller. Now if it follows all the properties of being a vector space, then it is called subspace. So in general, this particular thing comes into our domain as a problem. So what we want, mostly we are looking for the things which are already in some big vector space. We know that this is a part of a big vector space, but now we want to know whether those things that we are talking about are actually in a particular space which is a smaller one and which itself creates a subspace, right? So we are interested in that. So in the next video we are going to talk about subspaces. Thank you.